you can stand up and pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Al,
present.
Terry,
Present.
Michelle, Kate,
Here.
Gladys,
Here.
Dr. Cronin, Lauren, Juanita,
Here.
Rich, Julie, and I am here.
Okay.
Six. Yep.
Have a forum, go ahead, take care of our business. Next on the agenda, we're going to have public participation. The board welcomes public participation and asks the speaker please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Speakers may offer objective comments of school operation and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or defamatory comments about Board of Education personnel and students, nor against any person connected with the Danbury Public School System. Therefore, the start of the board, got ahead of myself. Okay. We allow 3 minutes for people to make comments and come before the board. The board may modify the limit by a majority vote of those present at the meeting. So at this time, I'm going to ask if there's anyone that would like to speak and has not signed the form, would you like to speak? Seeing none, we move on down to the agenda. Could I have a motion to accept the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the consent calendar exhibits 24-179 through 24-184 as recommended and in accordance with the exhibits listed.
Motion made by Kate, could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Al. Any question concerning consent form?
There's just one correction for the Community Relations Committee.
Can't hear you, Kate.
There's a correction for the Community Relations Committee meeting minutes. It references the superintendent event, which happened on the 21st of September. In the report, it listed as Rogers Park Middle School. It should be Broadview.
Okay. Correction note. Okay. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Do we have anyone from the educational staff representative to speak tonight? No. Our student rep. I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent for the presentation. Okay.
My name is Paulina Visconti. I'm your POG secretary. I'm currently waiting for our vice president, Peyton. She's stuck in traffic. But I'm going to go over some things that are going on at DHS.
Okay.
So it is our Spirit Week this week. Monday was anything but a backpack. Tuesday was 90s and 80s day. And Wednesday today was Character Day. They were a big success. A lot of people had really fun costumes, especially for anything but a backpack. People brought in bins. Some people brought in hoverboards, like crazy fun things. Tomorrow is class color day, so our staff wear red, our freshmen wear pink, sophomores wear purple, juniors wear green, and seniors wear black. And tomorrow during last walk is also our pet rally, which we've been doing a lot of planning for, so it's very exciting because we have a lot of different clubs and different DHS students participating in it. We have our DHS captains, we have our fall varsity teams, we have class captains, we have our madrigals, our singers, our summer national anthem before we start. So lots of different DHS students are going to be involved. And Then Friday is our homecoming game where we're going to be announcing our homecoming queen. And the scoreboard dedication is that day. Saturday is our homecoming dance, which we've prepared a lot for, which is very exciting as well. And
So for homecoming preparation and pep rally preparation, we've had a lot of volunteers come to help students within the school. We have some parents coming too on Friday, which is really nice. So photo club at our school, we're having them run a photo booth for free at the homecoming dance. So we'll have students there taking pictures. We're gonna have a nice backdrop set up, so that'll be really nice as well.
And then I want to say at the beginning of this month, our class act council, so our elected class act captains, went to the Aquaturf Conference and we won 2 awards. We won a leadership award and a sportsmanship award. So that's very exciting. We got to add those to our trophy case.
We've also recently had a few senior nights for boys soccer, field hockey, and girls volleyball, which were all a success. A lot of people showed up. It was really great to celebrate the seniors. So that was a good time as well. We have the club fair coming up at our school on November 6th. We've contacted all the advisors and clubs to make sure that they all get a chance to be represented at the club fair. So that'll be a good way for student participation and just to kind of get to know what we have to offer at our school.
So I want to say last week or 2 weeks ago was PSAT testing. They tested around 1,500 students and multilingual speakers did not take the PSAT. They were taking it on a tour to Yukon and they were doing a presentation in Spanish and Portuguese so that they had more outreach options. Yes, and then we had, during those PSAT tests, seniors had their pictures on the fields where they lined up like as the class 25 on the field, and then they did their handprints on the wall.
Recently, we've also had the 9th graders at our school rotate through a 3-part day. So the first kind of activity that they did was activities with their team. The second part was presentations with SROs. And the third one was skills enrichment, so they kind of got to experience different things and kind of get to see their skills development. And last thing, we also have the scoreboard dedication on Friday before the game, which you've all been invited to, and just a reminder for that as well. Quarter 1 closes on November 1st, so students are kind of working hard to wrap up their grades and make sure that everything's in on time.
And then November 2nd, and the class of 74 is coming in for tours for their 50-year anniversary. And us as BOG members, and I believe a few peer leaders are going to be doing the tours around the school. And so that's very exciting. And then we had a lot of people take the Seal Guide Literacy this year, and PASS was a big success. One of the largest numbers of students at BHS took it this past year. And that's it.
Does any board members have any questions for the young students? I would like to thank you for just working together and bringing us the announcement from the school. And I really appreciate it, that smiling faces and working together. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Before I have Dr. Rocco come up, I just want to say, the Seal by Literacy is an amazing example of another asset that we have here in the public school system that we don't always talk enough about. We don't get credit necessarily in our accountability index. We don't necessarily report out on that. But I love to make that part of some of our indicators that we start to report out on, because it's a tremendous asset to the students and the community as a whole. and our students are graduating biliterate in 2 languages. So thank you for reporting that out. It's super important. Thanks. Okay. I'd like to welcome Dr. Anna Rocco to provide a little presentation for us as part of the Staff Development Goal 2.1 under the district and the superintendent's goals. So as you remember, Staff Development Goal 2.1 is through collaboration with the District PDEC Committee, design, train, and implement an effective new teacher, administrator, and support staff evaluation and professional learning program. And Dr. Morocco has been largely heading that up along with a central office team, and she is our resident expert now in our new TVAL program and is going to talk us today a little bit about the high-level overview of where we're at with that training and that work.
Good evening, everyone. Great to be here with you tonight to share some of the work that we've been doing towards our implementation of our new PDEC plan and the professional learning that's going along with it. It has been an extensive year of work to get to this point, and we're very excited about where we are and where we're going on the plan this year. So tonight I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about so tonight I'm just going to share briefly with you the work of the Professional Development and Evaluation Committee, which we refer to as PDEC, the major shifts in the new guidelines. We included many of that, some documents in there that you can link to. The continuous learning cycle, which is the biggest shift. Professional learning for teachers and leaders ongoing this year, and then the ongoing work of the PDEC Committee. So in these documents that you have shown here, you can link on any of those documents with the picture of it, and it will take you to the full document if you might explore that. And at the bottom there are links to the orientation for educator videos and the education for leaders, the orientation for leaders video that were put out by the state as well. They're about 12 minutes long. They give you a very brief, a thorough overview of the changes to the plan. So last year, the Connecticut State Department of Education issued new guidelines for the educator leader evaluation and support documents. This was really a representation of some significant shifts from the guidelines written back in 2012, updated in 2017. Over the course of the school year, last year, the PDEC worked with EdVance to really understand the shifts in the changes in the plan and the guidelines. We worked with a representative from EdVance who came and worked with our PDEC committee on multiple occasions, as well as with our leaders over the summer and going into this beginning of the school year, so that we had a really strong understanding of the changes and what that would mean for us. The PDEC committee reviewed various plans. We looked at plans from Massachusetts, from Connecticut, from Rhode Island, just to see if there were pieces of plans that we thought would be a good fit for Danbury. Ultimately, when the state issued the plan that you see in the middle of the screen, the Connecticut Educator Evaluation and Support Plan, we, the PDEC committee, agreed to adopt a plan with very minor changes. The state offered some choices to districts. You could start from scratch and develop your own plan. You could take your current plan and tweak it to fit the new guidelines, or you could adopt the new state plan, which is what we decided to do because we really felt the district that the district needs. This slide just illustrates some of where the major shifts were, but overall the biggest change in the plan is really moving from a plan that was originally designed to be a growth plan, but over the course of time became more of a compliance kind of piece. And this plan really, devised by the state, pushes back on the growth for leaders and educators. It really encourages teachers to say, here are the areas in which I wish to improve my professional practice, and here's how I want to do that, and this is going to be the evidence of my work from that plan. So it's really devised to be a way for educators to take charge of their own learning and identify the areas in which they need to grow. The most significant shifts was a chance to streamline the plan and really focus it more on the professional learning. The old plan in the Marzano model, we had a chance to select 2 PPGs, which were professional practice goals. Then there was a student learning outcome and an indicator of academic growth and development.
This plan changes that, and it streamlines the plan to an educator growth model where they identify what they want to learn, how they're going to learn it, and what the impact of that learning is going to be on student outcomes. What they select does have to align to professional practice standards, the district's strategic plan, and the school improvement plan. So there does have to be alignment. It's not just a random selection of what they want to improve upon. There is alignment to those things. This is just a single-page summary of the continuous learning process. In terms of the timelines of goal setting and the process itself, there's not been a significant change. Teachers and leaders will set their goals in the beginning of the school year. They do that in collaboration with their evaluator. There is a mid-year review, and then there is an end-of-year review. The thing that is a significant change is that in the goal setting, again, they're aligning it to professional practice standards. In the past, we've used Marzano framework, so that that was a standards-based program framework, but this is now aligned to the CCT, which I'll show you in the next slide. The school improvement plan is an area where teachers need to refer to the school improvement plan to say, within this plan, we've identified these are the needs of our school in alignment with the strategic district plan. I know that in this area, this is an area that I want to grow in order to support those initiatives. Teachers identify the goal, they identify their professional learning, they think about their impact of that learning on their professional practice, and their impact on student learning. One of the things in this plan is that at any point in time over the course of the plan, they can meet with their evaluator and say, here are the changes that I need to make. This may not be meeting my needs right now and the needs of my students, so I'd like to change this plan. Our old plan did not really allow for that. In compliance piece, it was the old plan, you would set, here are my action steps, here are my 6 action steps, and would check them off as they were completed. This plan allows the educator to have flexibility in that if they feel like something's not working to meet the needs of their students as well as their own professional growth. They can meet with their evaluator and make changes to that plan. The other thing that's different about this plan is it can be a multi-year plan. Our earlier plan was a 1-year plan. If an educator feels like this is a place where I'm going to grow, I may want to move to make myself an exemplary educator in this area, and it will take me 2 years to get to that point, they can do so. If they want to work collaboratively with members of their team, they can do that as well. So really the focus is on how do I grow and how do I help my students grow through my own growth? And is that going to take me 1 year? It may take me more than 1 year. So they can expand it from 1 year to 2 years to 3 years. That's a collaborative process between the educator and the evaluator, whether it is the leader and their evaluator or a teacher and their evaluator. This is highly focused on self-reflection and observation feedback. So this is a plan that, beginning with the goal setting, it is really taking a look at their educator practice and saying, based on what I know about my students, based on what I know about my strengths as an educator, here are the areas in which I want to grow. It is a collaborative process with the evaluator. So if an evaluator feels that maybe a teacher needs to grow in a different area, they can make suggestions to the educator, and together they can make changes and think through that process together. Again, there is an opportunity to monitor, adjust, and revise that professional practice goal, and it's always based on collaboration with administrators and based on evidence and feedback. Feedback in this process can come from multiple sites. It can come through the observation process, through the evaluator. It can come through coaching, which is non-evaluative feedback. It can come through peer coaching, which is again non-evaluative feedback. So if teachers are working together in PLC and my colleague is giving me feedback about something they used in their classroom that worked, maybe I've been invited to go in and observe in my colleague's classroom and give them some tips. That's where the feedback cycle is, and that's where the self-reflection process comes in as well. We are focused on very high leverage professional practice goals. And administrators are expected to give very specific, timely, actionable feedback for teachers. So it's coming in. I'm going to be very focused on the feedback that I give to you based on your focus area, and I'm going to give you suggestions to grow in that area. But you may also have your colleague next door come in and observe you and give you feedback on your practice. One of the shifts I just discussed was the professional practice standards. Again, we used the Marzano model previously. It was standards-based, but it was a different set of standards. So they do align very closely. What we are using is the CCT for teachers, the CCT for service delivery, effective service delivery, which is our PBS staff, our coaches, SLPs fall under that model. And for leaders, we're using the Connecticut Framework for Leaders. So with this has come a very comprehensive year-long plan for professional learning, supporting the understanding both of the new model and the embedded components. There's a process piece to this that we've had to work through. We've had to familiarize staff with the timelines, the expectations, tiered interventions, if you need to apply tiered interventions, and all of the parts of the plan that are more compliance-based, so there's been some sessions on that. But we really have focused heavily on understanding the new standards that we're using, really unpacking those standards. We've dedicated a number of the after-school times throughout the course of the year, and we're heavily focused on the early release days this year to do this work. So beginning in September, we started by unpacking Domain 1, which is the classroom environment domain. Teachers and administrators worked together to unpack those domains, that domain, to understand more clearly what it meant. We put our school leaders through several days of training, of unpacking, before they were able to turn around and turnkey this training with their school staff. We started with Domain 1. We're doing things a little bit differently. We are unpacking one domain at a time to help to better understand each of the domains within each of the rubrics. We are putting our school leaders through intensive training with those domains before they roll it out to their staff. We did write a collective goal in Domain 1 this year. This is the only year we will do that. Teachers, if they wanted to select a goal in a different domain, were able to do that. But for the most part, I think almost all of the staff agreed to work within the domains, to getting practice in writing the goals, because the goal writing looks very different than it has in the past. So in September, we unpacked Domain 1. We tied that work with our PBIS work, because that is a major undertaking in each of our schools. We wanted to try to align as many things as we could so we didn't overburden anyone. So the first unpacking was Domain 1. They then aligned that to the strategies that they're using within their schools based on the PBIS strategies, and together they wrote a collaborative goal. Those have all been submitted. Administrators will start the process of reviewing the goals with the staff. Just yesterday, we started unpacking Domain 2, which is the planning domain. That was very successful from anecdotal comments that I've heard. We connected the planning domain and the understanding of the planning domain with a data review from each school. So each school was able to select data points from their school that they really wanted to focus in on, whether it was literacy, math. Some schools focused on both. Some schools may have also focused on their attendance data. And then they looked at how they will plan within their lesson planning to implement those professional practice goals into their planning, to establish those plans for all students. Kelly took her PBS staff and worked on that through the service delivery model as well. After these last two sessions, we sent out a survey to all school staff who participated. And really, I think this is one thing that in all of my years in Danbury, that we've seen the most positive feedback from staff. And given the process that it could be, it's really exciting to see the positive comments from staff coming back. They like the process of rolling it out in such a comprehensive way. They feel like this collective work around the goal has been helpful to help them really understand and to elaborate on the process themselves. So we will continue that. When we get those surveys back, we have a PDEP committee that's scheduled to meet right after that. So we have one coming up next Monday. We review the feedback. We send that feedback out to each of the buildings so they then see what the feedback from staff is. If they need to make any changes, they can make changes. An example was in one building, we saw there seemed to be more feedback related to the process. So we asked that administrator to just spend some time in their next meeting going back and articulating the process more clearly with staff so that staff would have a better understanding. So that feedback from staff has been very, very valuable to us. PDEP will continue to work over the course of this year. We have some subcommittees that are working. We will work on further developing single point competency that we're using. And as we are rolling out the plan, we are seeing some things that need to be tweaked and adjusted a little bit. Mostly is around language that may be a little less clear in the document, and we know we need to go back and revise some of that language to make it a little more clear. But it really is the state's understanding that at the end of this year, revisions will be made to the plan, and in some cases they may be minor, in some cases they may be more than minor. But it's really taking advantage of the feedback that we're getting from staff to now turn that plan and tweak that plan to really fit the needs of our district and our teachers and our students.
How does this fit into the academy model?
So they're working, the high school has really embedded that work into the academy. Dr. Kessner, I'm sure you can speak more about that, but I know that this last session, the academy leaders, the APs, have really been leading each of the sessions, unpacking the domains, and then identifying the areas where it best fits and aligns to the academy work that's going forward.
Just to add to that, so this is a model for all teachers across all domains, K-12. And so the academy, there could be some areas in the academy and by academy that are of more concern or focus, when using and looking at data than others. So there can be some differentiation in what they're choosing to focus in on, but it's really about improving teacher practice, teacher pedagogy, relative to the delivery of instruction and effective student outcomes. So those, whether it's at the academy, whether it's the middle school, the elementary school, the evaluation and the observation cycle that we have applies to everyone. And what the teachers are choosing to focus in on, what schools have zeroed in on to align and to back into district strategic plans can be a little bit different, so long as that they're in alignment with some of the things that we've adopted.
To kind of piggyback on what you said, can you give me an example of what would be a goal that a teacher would want to focus in or something? And the different, and if you can give me like as elementary as opposed to middle school.
Mm-hmm. So we are focused right now in domain 1, which is creating a classroom environment for increasing student engagement and the student commitment to learning. So a teacher may write a goal around high expectations for student learning, which is that they're divided by domains, and then there are indicators within each domain, and then there are attributes within each domain. Teachers can select one indicator and take the whole indicator, or they can select specific attributes within the indicator to work on. So many of our educators I know have selected high expectations for student learning, which is one of the attributes under indicator 1A, which is creating a positive learning environment that's responsive to and respectful learning needs of all learners. So within that attribute, it may be that they are looking at specific types of questionings for students, and making sure that they're asking questions of all students within their classroom. So it's holding all students to a high expectation and making sure that students are engaged in the class by selecting questioning strategies that will engage all learners. So a goal for them may be to increase their ability to ask a range of questions. It may be that they want to develop techniques and strategies to probe questions for students who are reluctant learners, probe questions of students who give incorrect answers, so how to rephrase, how to give pause time, But what they would do then is to really research what strategies are effective strategies for reluctant learners. What strategies might be high engagement type strategies in the classroom for all learners. So as they research those strategies, one of the practices that you would expect to see in the classroom would then be that they would be implementing those strategies when you go in to complete an observation as an evaluator. You might be looking at a planning session because there are reviews of practice that you can engage in with a teacher. During a review of practice, when a teacher is doing their planning, you might ask them, how are you planning to engage the reluctant learners in your classroom? And if you would hope that they would refer back to some of the learning that they've done on their own and independent learning. Some of these will also be school-driven. If it is a part of their school improvement plan, there would be collective learning around those strategies as well. You would expect then a teacher's reflection to have some type of way of addressing what change they've seen in student. When I say behaviors, I don't mean like, are they behaving correctly? But by student behaviors, are you seeing students respond more to questioning? Because you've created an environment in your classroom in which students are more willing to try. They're more willing to participate. They're more willing to take academic risks within the classroom. So that could be one within Domain 1 that we're working in right now.
Teresa?
Excuse me if I sound ignorant on this. Is it these teams, or is it by grade or by subject within the school? This is why I was asking about the academy model, because the academy has their own teachers, so to speak. In the grammar schools, are you dealing by grade or by the different subjects in professional development? I mean,
So the answer is yes to all of those things. So it might be that a teacher individually selects a goal because they feel that that's a need for them to grow professionally. These are professional practice goals, so they're goals that cross-cut all content areas. They're high-leverage instructional practices. They don't align specifically to one content area. They can apply to any content area. So they really are high-leverage professional practice strategies.
so you've been working, you're saying they work together with, is it within the departments or within? just-
They could work together within a department if there was a common goal that the members of a department felt was something that they wanted to work collaboratively on, that they also saw this is a need in our students. In order to meet that need, we need to learn how to do this in a better way, or a stronger way, or a different way. So they could collaboratively work as a department to do that.
Michelle?
So just a quick question, does this add a lot more time to each of the teachers? Like how much more time, or is it consistent with what, the model looked like before as far as the commitment of time and,
I think it's fairly comparable to the amount of time. I think because it's a new rollout, a new model, it will take a little bit more time this year. The idea from the state is that it really streamlined the process and eliminated some of the things that teachers were required to do that they did it because it was a requirement, not because it really helped them to grow. So I mentioned before, you could select 2 professional practice goals in the former model, and you may have an evaluator come in and observe in a classroom and never see that professional practice goal in practice. And sometimes those professional practice goals were not tied to the SLO, the student learning outcome. They were separate. This really streamlines that process to make it one process. And it eliminates some of the paperwork in addition to it. I think this year it may feel like it's a little more heavy because it's a new process as we work through it. We've tried very hard to align it to the things that we're already doing. So because we've rolled out the new PBIS work this year, we've tried very close to get people to very closely tie that to Domain 1 work. So really look at, here are all the strategies that we're going to be implementing through our PBIS model. This is how it aligns to the attributes and the indicators within Domain 1. Now, how can we make that connection between the two, so you're not doing this PBIS work, and now I'm gonna do this work for my professional goal? There, we've combined them. Again, we are expecting that data work to take place, so we've aligned that work through the after-school time with the data reviews tied to the lesson planning piece. So how are we using this data to now plan to instruct our students? So we're really trying to very carefully align it so they're not seen as very separate entities that are working, but the process is very aligned.
Thank you. It was nice the way that you can reassess, you know, instead of just kind of
Yeah,
checking off the boxes like you mentioned, so it's
yeah, I think,
probably worth its
I think for
extra time.
I think for people that's something that they appreciate, that they'd say, if this isn't working for me, can I change it? Where it was more difficult, much more difficult to do that in the old model you had. If you said you were going to do these 6 things, you needed to do these 6 things and show me evidence of these 6 things. But in this model, you can say, you know, I decided I was going to do these 2 things. The student sitting in front of me needs something different. So instead of doing these 2 things, I want to try these instead, because that will better meet the student's needs, and I can grow in that area.
Thank you. And Judy.
Thank you. So I'm in the process of trying to establish my goals.
I can help you with that.
So I'm in the process of establishing my goals. I'm a little behind, but it is what it is. But what I see from the evaluation process, I think is more of, going back to the old way, I think it's more the teacher taking control of their own professional development instead of someone telling them, hey, this is what you got to do. I also believe that, you know, it brings me to my level of I can self-evaluate myself, which was never done before. You know, I set my goals, and then I gotta see if I'm using the SMART method, make sure I'm meeting, you know, my goals. And if I'm not, then just like in life, we have to go back and reevaluate our goals so that self-assessment I love. And I really, in the long term, compared to the others, I think that you have more from the administrative side of the house. I think you have more of a mentorship than more of a dictator or whatever. So that mentorship could be not only from the administration, but it could also, like you said, either a department head or a peer that is working. But the bottom line is self-assessment is basically is the student getting anything out of my process, my method of teaching or whatever it is. But you know, besides being a little complicated and being behind on my goals, I think it works better this year.
Yeah, it does put the relationship between the evaluator and the teacher into a much more collegial relationship. It is a mentoring, coaching role, because it is really designed to be a growth model.
Judy?
Thank you. I have a quick question. I know that this is a new model, but I also heard that you have a lot of expectations and hopes. And I just have a quick question based on the superintendent's goals. How will the teachers will select the goals that align with the goals the superintendent has with the district?
So the superintendent goals have been shared with our school leaders, all of our school leaders, and their school improvement plans align to the superintendent's goals. So the school leaders' goals should now align to the superintendent's goals and the strategic plan as well, and then the teachers' goals filter in under that as well. But because it is a very large umbrella, the teachers, there is a lot of places where teachers can say, yes, under this plan, here's where I need to develop in order to contribute to that goal the best. Whether it is my school goal, whether it is the district goal, there is alignment between all of them.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Again, I just want to say that, you know, looking at this whole picture of the new evaluation, it really falls into play on what we want to do with the superintendent's vision, and where we want to go with the district. So it kind of And I think the bill, but the stake here is the teacher. The teacher is what's gonna make that culture change through this, allowing them their way of teaching instead of being told how to process.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking with school leaders about, do all of your teachers understand that they are the factor? They are the factor. They're the determining factor of the trajectory of the child sitting in front of them. So we spent a lot of time having those conversations. And it is the teacher's work in front of the class that really will set the trajectory for that student.
If I could just add, I think it's important, I know there was a question about like professional development time. Typically at this point in the year, we would have one early release day that we've devoted to teacher evaluation. So far the staff have had 3, so I think that shows you the amount of time to make sure that this is rolled out. We are spending a substantial amount of our professional learning time with educators to make sure that we hand-hold them and walk them through. In fact, Anna and I were having a conversation, and based on some of the feedback that I received from some of the staff, particularly in the pupil services department, that have a different rubric to follow because some of their rules are different, that they were having some questions around domain 1, and even though we were supposed to move on to domain 2, it was time out, we're gonna go back and redo domain 1, we're gonna clarify any misconceptions, and then, domain 1, and then move into domain 2. So we've really set the plan for this year to allow for a lot of time, a lot of focus, a lot of attention, a lot of feedback. And I feel like yesterday, particularly, or 2 days ago, I'm losing track of time, Tuesday, it was yesterday, across the district there was kind of a, okay, now things are further clarified because we've revisited it multiple times, allowed people to look at some samples and exemplars and really had some coaching conversations. So I think in that regard, we're doing it really well. And afforded a lot of time for it. So yes, it's more time consuming because anything that new is. But I also think we built it naturally and allowed teachers time to work on their plans, during their workday, not after hours, not those types of things. And we'll continue to do that as we move forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Anna. And I just want to add one last component to that. I think the thing that I'm most proud of, and I believe the cabinet as well, is the level of collaboration around that PDEC committee that it has a different feel, tone, flavor, and culture than it has in years past that started last year. And we have a cross-representative, a very nice, robust representative of administrators, teachers. Our unions are present at that as well, leadership. We have paraprofessional union leadership there. And we have teachers from elementary, middle school, and high school from different subject areas. And some of those conversations have been extraordinarily rich, super productive, and very, very forward-thinking in the way they were approaching. The other component to this is, early on, once we kind of took the rating away from this process, we stopped rating teachers with a number and a GPA, if you will, on performance. The level of angst comes down, and people can actually focus in on their practice and what they're doing, and they feel less threatened. And that ultimately is how you get people to develop and reflect when they're comfortable and there's a trusting environment. And so, we're very hopeful for this. It's also coming at a time when we've invested in our assessment systems over the last couple of years, that people are becoming more adept at understanding their own data. So that picture of how my students are really doing, whether they're proficient or how much they're growing, has become more clear and has become more adept with data. Their understanding through this model now, my prediction will be that how my teaching practice influences how this data moves, and what in my practice can I leverage to help increase these outcomes. So I think we're at a place where all these things are going to start to come together over the next year, and I'm very hopeful for it. And I thank you for your leadership, and I thank you. Kelly is a huge part of PDEC as well. So it's been a productive venture so far. The teachers and administrators have been great. Thank you.
Next item A. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of this. We go to our board standing committee, community relations.
So Community Relations Committee met on October 10th, and we reflected on the superintendent meet and greet that happened in Broden Middle School. And we also discussed planning for future community events. Dr. Seeley was kind enough to put together some Google documents with a request to our committee members. Please contribute ideas about various talking points for those events for the board. as well as, putting various community groups we might be connected to, so we can leverage those connections. You're asked to fill those out before our next meeting, which will be November 13th at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Curriculum Committee, Lauren is not here, but you have the minutes in the, with the agenda. So just read them and she will report at the next week. Finance Committee, Janelle, do you have anything to say?
I do. Mr. Giannelli asked if I can report out, if that's okay.
Okay.
All right. The last meeting was October 16th. We reviewed the September 2024 finance report, which is recommended to the full board for approval and is on tonight's agenda. There was a request that the $160 million operating budget be separated from the $7.5 million in one-time ARPA funds. That's also on tonight's agenda, just so that board members have a clearer picture of what our budget looks like. There were some additional requests made by the committee, including finances reported out by school site, a detailed itemization of the Alliance grant, and a line item budget book for the 24-25 school year. As of the last meeting, our finance director, Mike Weaver, confirmed that the non-lapsing account that the board approved is still in the process of being opened. And he also confirmed progress on the 2023 audit and anticipates moving to the 2024 audit at the end of December. The last request is from the chairman himself. He has requested that board members submit in writing to him any additional finance reports that they would like to receive on a regular basis before the next finance committee meeting, which is scheduled for November 20th at 6 p.m.
Mr. Weaver, do you have anything to add to the Finance Committee? Okay, thank you. Policy?
Policy Committee has not met since the last full board meeting, but in light of the conversation that we had at that time, we're going to revisit a conversation around Policy 4140.2, which is the compensation of central offices and staff before it comes back to the board for a second read. The next Policy Committee meeting is November 6th at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Sites and facilities.
Thank you. We had our sites and facilities meeting this past Thursday evening on location at Danbury High School. I want to thank all my committee members for coming and the board for allowing us to take a first-hand look at all the wonderful improvements that were done over the summer and talk about a lot of plans that we're going to be doing in the future. I want to thank the city and everybody that worked on getting all of that done in a matter of 3 months. It was quite amazing, and it's looking really great. So I want to thank everybody for that, and thank you to Dr. Casimiro and Dr. Seeley for helping put it all together for us. It's nice to actually see the things that we talk about, especially in sites. It's more of a visual type of committee, so it's really great if we can do more of that in the future. We don't have a next sites meeting yet, but we're working on getting the on the calendar.
I want to thank you as chairperson of the committee. You did an excellent job. The board members that attended and everything. I thought it was a beautiful experience to really see what was going on. And I appreciate the tours that I had and the special treatment that Dr. Seeley and Dr. Casimiro did to make sure that I was involved in it. And I want to say thank you. All our committees have reported. So we're going to move on to action item A.
Motion that the Board of Education approve final plans, contract specifications, and cost estimate for phases 3 and 4 of the Danbury Career Academy project, State Project 034-153N, and to authorize the chairperson of the Board of Education and the superintendent of schools to sign the SCG-042 forms for submission to the state of Connecticut for approvals as recommended by the Sites and Facilities Committee.
Motion made by Louisa. Could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Al. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Seeley, do you have anything else additional to say? Or Dr. Seeley?
No, just wanted to thank everybody for a great sites meeting and joining us for the tour. And to echo Louise's comment, we hope to be able to do more on-site meetings in the future.
Do we need the jump report from the city at this time?
I'm happy to answer any questions if there's any questions.
Do I have any questions?
Just the forms to
Because we
sign.
had the blueprints here, you had the opportunity to come by and review them. And those that attended the high school last Thursday, you had the opportunity to see what was going on, what that presented. So we would like the young man to go home.
He needs signatures.
Dan, let me just say thank you. I don't, not sure if Greg realizes how much goes into preparing those packets and the probably 12 dozen meetings. I know that only that I've had, let alone how many more you've had with other people. So thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you. I mean,
Okay.
you guys are the key drivers in this, so we couldn't do it without you. We appreciate all your input. Look forward to getting good.
Thanks, thank you.
And thank you. Thank you.
You're signing your life away.
It's going in.
Got a check?
Okay, moving on down. Thank you for your patience. Action item B.
Action item B, MOU, allocation of American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, ARPA funding. Motion that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of agreement between the City of Danbury and the Board of Education for the $7.5 billion allocation of American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, parentheses, star, or quote, ARPA, close quote, parentheses, funding in accordance with 24-186.
Teresa make the motion. Did I hear a second? Who? Okay. Motion been moved and second. Any questions concerning the motion? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Action item C. F.
I make a motion that the Board of Education approve the September 2024 financial report, 7/1/24 through 9/30/24, as recommended by the Finance Committee and in accordance with Exhibit 24-187.
Motion made by Al. Could I hear a second? Seconded by Teresa. Any questions? Mr. Weaver, you okay? Okay. Thank you. I'll give you the opportunity. Yeah, okay. All in favor? Did I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Okay, action item D.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption policy 3542.43, food service charging policy, as recommended by the Policy Committee and in accordance with Exhibit 24-188.
Motion made by Kate, seconded by Juanita.
Julie.
Julie, you have to talk just a little bit. I'm sorry. Motion made by Kate, seconded by Julie. Any question concerning the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Did I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Juanita, action item E.
Motion
that the Board of Education approve the 2024-2025 superintendent district goals in accordance with 24-189.
Motion made by Juanita, could I hear a second? Seconded by Kay. Any question concerning action item? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Superintendent.
Okay, thank you. So included in your packet, we did include an update on the October 1 enrollment data, and I submitted that also earlier last week for review. And at the 2023 October 1st collection date, we had 12,114 students. And in 2024, the timestamp on October 1st of this year is 11,923. And so as you know, those numbers fluctuate over the course of the year as students come in at different points and as some students exit our rolls. So we're in the process of still going through that. Probably in a couple of weeks or so, we'll have Kara Winter come in and we'll do a deep dive on our enrollment so we can study it further. But right now, this is just a timestamp. Some of the decrease in the number, as you can imagine, is attributed to our kindergarten change in legislation, and so we do have less kindergarten students currently right now than we've had in last year. In 2023, we had 876 kindergartners report by October 1st, and this year in 2024, we have 679, which is a difference of 197. So, once we get moving and that's no longer in the dip year, these numbers will stabilize and we'll see a rebound in this first. Okay. But again, we'll do a deep dive on our numbers concerning enrollment at another date. On the Alliance Grant update, I'm happy to report that as of just today, I got a cross-divisional approval on our first submission. We did get it kicked back initially because they did not want to see copiers in the Alliance Grant, so we definitely reprogrammed some of that money. And we had to, what's interesting with the state this year, one of the things that they asked us to do, and a lot of districts had to do some revisions, was around tagging all of our strategies by school. So we have been talking more about reporting out by how much money we're spending by school. And as part of our per pupil expenditure, the state is now really interested in understanding with Alliance grants and the grants that you get at the federal level, when you put a strategy in place, they want to know not just one large district number that goes towards the strategy, they want to know how many staff members are being allocated to a school, and how does that break down into the per pupil expenditure, plus or minus, from what our normal floor is. So it's interesting in the direction that they're going in, and it's going to help with reporting. And it's also going to help us to say, hey, you know what, we have, maybe we have a distribution problem here, how we're resourcing one school or another. It does help the district and the state to more clearly identify those things and to create a more transparent atmosphere. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those reports shake out once we're done. But for the next board meeting, I'll go through with you with this group, and I'll probably send it in advance the breakdown of Alliance, and then have to sort of take a look at it. I did send out earlier in the week the parent school safety letter. That was a letter that was issued as part of a joint effort across the state from Ned Lamont, Charlene Russell Tucker, who is our commissioner, and Ronald Higgins, who's our commissioner of Department of Emergency Services. Across the state, school districts have been struggling with these swatting incidents, but also more of an all-call or heightened sense of security, both cybersecurity, safety, child security, and really helping parents get informed of what is what to look out for. As part of this, and as part of the recent Alliance submission, I am looking at ways to help with the parent education side of this. So to providing a resource for the district to allow our parents to get educated on all the things that they can do to help keep their children safe. Ann Mead's group does a little bit with this, and individual schools have dabbled in finding cobbling funds together to help with this. But from a district perspective, I'd like to create some equity across the district and make sure that everybody has access to resources to engage our parents in helping our students to stay safe. So more to come on that. And the superintendent district goal progress, as you saw tonight, Dr. Rocco presented on goal 2.1 in the superintendent district goals. Over the course of the next several board meetings, we'll try to highlight one of the board goals and the district goals together and make sure that we're reporting out on it, so we're engaged in dialogue around those over the course of the year as we go. And then the last one, which is great, is our Bonnie B. Carney Award for Excellence in Educational Communication. So Danbury Public Schools just received the announcement that we're going to be getting 2 awards. One for the 2024 District Board of Education Budget Book. So this won an award for good communication. I think it really told a good story of where we were at, maybe a little bit more so than in years past. I think we're all kind of proud of the budget book for the story that it told. The outcomes are a different story in terms of what we get for the budget, so I wish we would get that award. But certainly this is a good indicator that we're on the right path of good communication. So, there was a lot of work that went into this. This just wasn't us, me in the background creating the narrative. Mike Seelig put a lot of effort into this, tremendous amount. Grace Molina as well for her graphic and attention to detail. She's a perfectionist when it comes to making sure that these pages and everything are right. So just want to say a big shout out to them. And the second award was a special award for our welcome and registration packet. So the types of information that we provide and how we engage. And that one is Lori Barrios over at the center, Grace Molina again, and Shalvari and Ann. So a big shout out to that for making sure our parents at registration and have everything that they need. So and we were pleased to get that award. The last note I'll say is that we've got an update for the board members that the dedication on Friday of the game, board members are to report to the black box at 5:30 as a location for the reception. That's it on my report.
Board chairperson report is very brief tonight. Just want to remind all board members, when we have obligations, and I know we can't be at every place, when we have committee meetings, we need 3 board members out of that 5 committee to have a quorum to take care of this. Okay? Just a reminder. Okay? When we are here for our board meeting, I need 6 people to make a quorum to take care of business. Okay? And I know we can't be on time all the time. And what I do is try to get around and make sure that we have the action item, I assign it to someone, and that we can move on down the agenda because we have other items to take care of. So just a reminder, on November the 14th, I'm sort of asking, do we have anyone that would be able to attend the convention and be assigned a delegate for the convention? And that purpose of having a delegate in that assembly is to get Danbury on the board as far as being a CAVE member and not participating, because where their policies and things are all made up in that delegation. So I'm just throwing that out tonight. And if you can make it, the hour is from, they got 4 to 6 delegate assembly, and that's where all the important information is done at that convention. So if you can make it, let me know. And Mr. Seelig, you want to talk more about it? So at least Danbury will have a voice, not just only paying our dues and say that we are a member of CAVE. Because the big issues happens and the big discussion happen at that assembly, and we have never been at least invited to that assembly. So we need to get on the board.
Thank you, Gladys. So the way it works is this book comes out a couple weeks ago. I think they sent it out to board members. And this is really the agenda for that delegation meeting. They go through each of these items piece by piece. They put them up on the board. And then all the delegates from all around the state, there'll be people there from Bridgeport, Stanford, New London, everywhere that has a school board, people will be there. And everyone has a little paddle with a little plate on it, and you vote up and down whether you want these to go into the policy agenda that Kay will then bring to Hartford in the legislative session. So this is a place where if you don't like one of these policies, you can make it heard. They will literally change the language right there in real time, and everybody votes on it. So it's really an important place that we make sure Danbury has its voice heard there, because this is an agenda that's gonna move potentially hundreds of millions of dollars around Hartford, and being in this room is where we decide what they're gonna be fighting for when they get there. So, we are allowed 2 members, because of our enrollment size. And that will be Thursday night, I believe it starts at 6 o'clock, and whoever the delegates are, just please contact me, and I'll make sure you get all the materials you need and are ready to go.
Yes.
Do we have representatives for the rest of the week? There's a CAPE training that's going on the 15th and 16th. Do we have people going to that?
The convention is just what, that Saturday?
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, we have 4 people going to the convention. Okay? You signed up to go.
Correct. So, the session that you're talking about in the 14th
It's
is in the evening.
Thursday. It's Thursday.
Mhm.
And it starts at
Is
6
the
o'clock.
district willing to sponsor somebody for another evening?
I didn't hear what you said.
Well, we're already sponsored for the
For
Friday.
the registration, right, so the registration, I believe, the board members who already replied, for the registration, that's already covered. But if you need to stay over, that evening, Thursday and Friday, you just contact Kara and we'll make the arrangement. Kelly and I will be there on Friday, just Friday only during the day, so we'll see what they're.
So my concern is we need two delegates for Thursday from 6 o'clock for the delegate assembly. So, okay? So please let me know if you, so I can let know, okay? That's it. I need it, and if there's no other discussion about anything, we move on. I need a motion to enter into executive session. So moved by Teresa, all in favor? Aye. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can read.
Teresa, do you want to read the full motion?
Oh, sorry. Executive session, motion. That the Board of Education recess into executive session for the purpose of discussing the proposed collective bargaining agreement with the Danbury School Administrators Association, parentheses, DSAA, close parentheses, comma, for 2025 through 2028, comma, with possible action in public session.
Thank you, Teresa. All in favor, could I hear aye? Aye. Motion so carried.
Second.
Yes.
28 as presented.
Motion made by Al, could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Julie, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Al, seconded by Michelle. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Mr.